Good afternoon, sir. Greetings from Collegedunia. I would like to inform our viewers that Mr. Rahul Puri is the managing director of Mukta Art Limited, which was involved in the release of over 15 commercial films such as Etraz, Iqbal, 36 Chinatown, etc. He is also the head of academics of Whistling Woods International. We are truly privileged to have you on our leadership series, Thoughtful Leaders. So, sir, as a head of academics of Whistling Woods International, can you throw some light on its genesis?
Sure. I mean, Whistling Woods was created primarily to be the film school in Bombay. Bombay is the largest film industry, theatrical film industry in the world. It's been around for over 120 years. And yet, for all of those 120 years, nobody had ever thought of setting up a film school to teach the next generation of filmmakers how to prepare themselves, how to learn, how to train, because a lot of people feel that filmmaking is something that is inbuilt in you, right? You have a talent for it, right? There's a certain creativeness that comes into it, but that's not entirely the case. Obviously, you need to have a knack and ability for filmmaking, but it's then something that takes years of training, years of dedication, and Mr. Ghai, Subhash Ghai, our founder, who himself had been through film training, he was one of the first batches of FTI at Pune, felt that there was a huge need, there was a huge vacuum in this space of training. And having traveled all around the world to many, many different film schools across the world, he envisioned this idea of a truly creative arts institute in the center of Bombay's Film City. And Film City is a place where most of the film television shoots happen. And what better place to settle a film institute than in the center of all of that wonderful activity. So Whistling Woods was set up as an integrated creative arts institute that would help young people to build a platform from their learning and their education all the way through to their vocation in the industry.
That's really great, sir. So, sir, how is the curriculum at Whistling Woods is being continuously evolved so that it is in sync with the changing trends?
Well, I think we've been very lucky at Whistling Woods that we've had so much support from partners, both on the technology side as well as partners on the affiliation sides in terms of other education institutes in the world, that we've been able to create a curriculum that is constantly pushing the boundaries, I think, of new technology, revolutionary technology in our industry. Whistling Woods was one of the first film institutes anywhere in the world to move from traditional film shooting to digital and high definition shooting. We in fact trained a lot of the television channels in their HD pipeline when they moved from SD to HD back in the end of the last decade. That training was done at Whistling Woods. We pioneered 3D technology. We now have we began to move into areas of 3D. We've now began to move into areas of virtual reality and augmented reality. And the idea here is that we keep our students ready for any demands of the industry that's going to come at them next. This is very important because if a student invests so much in their education, you cannot have them in a situation where they're only ready for the industry, what's to come at the industry at that very moment. You have to ensure that there is a certain future-proofing to their education. And over the next 5 to 10 years, whatever technologies, whatever processes are going to emerge, the students are ready to cope with those and compete with those things. And I think that we've taken lots of global best practices, as I said, through our affiliation partnerships with colleges around the world, institutions around the world, built those best practices into our own education, and made sure that our students are ready to step out onto film sets, not just here in Bombay, but if they were to step out onto a film set in Los Angeles or in London, they'd feel at home. They'd be ready to work in those environments, and I think that's very important. That's very crucial. We've also beefed up our understanding of the academic side of things. Obviously, we're not just a vocational course. We're now an academic course. We've moved from vocational education to granting degrees, which we've done with our partnership with the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which grants all of our degrees and our advanced diplomas. And I think that has helped us to understand more academic rigor, make our students, I think, more aware of the environment around them by bringing in contextual courses like sociology and culture, so that students understand not just the kind of storytelling that they want to put, they also understand why and the context that those stories live in.
That's really great, sir. So, sir, amidst the lockdown, what are your plans for the incoming batch in terms of induction and the classes?
Well, I think obviously Bombay in this situation is a little bit of a hotspot of COVID. So there's a lot of conversation, I think, happening over when we will be able to start face-to-face classes. My current understanding is that will probably not happen until September. But what we want to do, we've been online. We finished our semester online through online learning. We were online from the 1st of April all the way until the end of our semester. We're currently in our end of semester assessments and exams. So we would have had 3 months of online learning from which we can understand how that medium works with students. And I would suggest that probably from the first week of August, we would start induction for the new set of students through the online system. We would also start regular classes for current students through the online system, and then slowly build up to a situation where some of the students come back, I think, in a staggered manner from middle of August, and then our new batch returns to campus on the 1st of September. I think, though, that these are fairly fluid and fairly dynamic situations, and you have to be prepared for bad news that might come your way, or good news that might come your way, if there's any, and adjust your plans accordingly. I think one of the things that we pride ourselves at Whistling Woods at being is extremely flexible, keeping our students' priorities and their needs first in our minds. Whistling Woods, even though we finished this semester online, we have not cut out any projects, we have not cut out any exercises, any films or deliverables that students have to do. We've not cut any of those out from the curriculum. We've simply pushed them in the curriculum to a time where students will be able to fulfill those requirements. I think that gives us a lot of faith from our students that we're constantly thinking of their best. And that means that when we do adjust in times of crisis like now, our students are willing to go along with what we would like them to do.
Rightly said, sir. Sir, apart from curriculum, what are the extracurricular activities conducted at Whistling Woods to enhance their education?
Well, I think we deeply believe that students need to learn outside of the classroom as well. And I think that this is very important for particularly for young students, 18, 19. They come to college obviously for an education, but they also come to college for having fun. I mean, that's also a part of college that's very important, even though parents wouldn't like to admit it. But it's important. It's important for people to enjoy themselves, and for that, Whistling Woods, we've been very keen to ensure that students put on many events on campus that help drive this sort of student interaction, and most importantly, interaction of students between different batches. So for the last sort of, I think 7 years, we've been putting on an event called Celebrate Cinema, which is a 2-day event that we essentially throw our doors open to the public and conduct loads of workshops and master classes and have these wonderful panel events. And it's all organized by the students. The students' body comes together and handles all of this on their own, right from sort of the marketing to the registration of people to how people move across the campus and what workshops are being held. That's a wonderful extracurricular that we do. We have our own sort of inter-college festival, which is Inbox, which luckily we managed to finish just before COVID kicked in. That would happen in February, and that's a 2-day event, in which students really show their talents, dancing, singing, athletics, football, all of those kinds of things. We have our own cricket league on the lines of the IPL, which we call Whistling Woods Cricket League, which is sort of an inbox cricket league, if you would like. We've got a social cause festival that we do called Saksham, which we pick what we believe is an important social cause and have a whole day of panels around that social cause. And in addition to this, we do many tie-ups with many organizations that students go off and visit, whether that's an NGO and students go up. So students were part of the beach cleanup that happened here in Bombay. Students are part of MAMI, students are part of the Good Pitch, which is a documentary film festival, and so many other things. Our students really have a huge plethora of events to choose from that they can be part of. And I think the more the merrier. As long as a student can demonstrate to us that they can keep their eye on their academics, we certainly don't have any problems with students being part of these extracurricular events that I think builds their personality and builds their character.
That's really great, sir. So, sir, there are a lot of OTTs coming into picture. So, do you think that would be helpful for students, like have the opportunities increased?
I think so. I think there are lots of OTTs, and one of the things about OTTs are they're very hungry for content. They need to create more and more content. And I think that, if you look at OTTs, you've also got to look down at sort of lots of the other, I think, social media services that also require lots of content, whether that's content for Facebook or content for YouTube or content for Twitter, Instagram, all of these kinds of things. They're not completely OTTs, but there's so much content being created these days that I think our students are in great demand because they have a skill set that means that they can write, they can direct, they can shoot in terms of cinematography, they can edit, they can do the sound, they can handle the post, and just especially in some of these lower end platforms, it's such an advantage to have one person that can do all of these things rather than to hire specific people to do specific jobs. Then as you move up and get into a little bit more higher quality content, longer form content, I think that's when our students really come into their own because they've done specializations in either sound or cinematography or editing or direction or writing, and so they can then form part of those teams that are there. So yeah, I mean the OTT space is a burgeoning one. But I'd say, just in general, web content is something that's on the rise and going to continue to increase.
That's great, sir. So you have been in various leadership roles. So what are your thoughts on leadership and how would you describe your mentoring style?
I think, leadership, I think, is doing things that you want people that work with you to do. So I never like to hide in my office. I'm constantly out. You can ask anybody. I'm always out. I'm always walking around. I really believe in the idea of management by walking around. Where people can see you, and people feel comfortable to stop you in the hall, or and say, what about that, and can we talk about this, and those kinds of things. I think leaders need to be visible. I don't feel that they need to cut themselves off and be in offices and stuff like that. And so that's one of the things that I love to do. I love to be walking around and meeting people and talking to them about how their job is going and how they think we can improve. Because that's the other huge part, I think, of leadership that is so important. Leadership isn't just about talking, right? It's mostly about listening. It's about listening to what other people have to say and taking that on board, and at times being open to the idea that you're wrong. That a person in a specific role has much more insight into that specific role than perhaps you do, and that's the other thing that I think is really important about leadership, is to sit and listen to people. And I feel far too few people actually do that when they become leaders. In terms of a mentoring style, I'm not a man manager. I'm not a micromanager. I'm a very sort of hands-off, macro, big picture kind of guy. I believe very strongly in, if I've hired the right person for the job, I'm able to tell them what to do, and if they need me, they will feel comfortable to knock on my door and ask for questions, and ask any questions that they have. So I'm a fairly hands-off kind of guy. I kind of let people get on with what they want to do. But in terms of mentoring, I think it's very important that people understand that my door is always open. That people can come in and talk to me about any issues that they have, whether that's professional, whether that's personal. I think it's important that you show that you have a sympathetic side to you, because it's important that you understand that everybody is different, right? Everybody comes from different circumstances. Everybody has different challenges. And in the light of COVID and the situation that COVID is going to create, those differences are going to become even more extreme. And so, this idea of one size fits all, this idea of a cookie cutter approach, even to your employees, I think is just not the way to go. You have to look at the situation that the employee is in. You have to empathize with what they're going through, and you have to try and help them find a solution for what they're trying to do. So, my leadership style, I think, is to be open, honest, transparent with the people that I work with. And everybody knows that, I say what I need to say. And if anybody has any questions on that, they can always come and talk to me about it.
That's really great, sir. So, sir, what, according to you, is more important, being technically correct or having creativity?
I think that, having creativity, what does it mean? What does it really mean? And I think this is something that's really important for us to understand. I think it's very important that people are exposed to a great many things. I think that's where creativity comes from. Obviously, some people are more talented than others. There's no doubt about that, and there's no question about it. But I think that the more you can expose yourself to, great books, great movies, great stories, great works of art, your sense of understanding of where these things come from and your inspiration levels go up. I think that's very important in terms of being creative, if that's what you want to call it. However, I truly believe that there is no substitute for hard work and dedication. Technical learning requires hard work and dedication. You need to put the hours in. I read somewhere that if you wanted to be an accomplished actor, you need to put in like 10,000 hours of practice. Without 10,000 hours of practice, you can't be an accomplished actor or anything, frankly. If you don't put 10,000 hours into practicing it, you'll never be good at something. That takes dedication. It doesn't matter how creative you are. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. If you don't put the hard work in, that talent, that creativity is going to be rendered useless. So I think they're both hugely important. It's a balance that you try to tread. However, what I will say is that when you're starting out, people are not going to notice your talent. They're not going to notice your creativity. What they are going to notice is your hard work. They are going to notice your dedication. And hopefully, when they notice that hard work and that dedication, and they're willing to give you an opportunity, that's where you'll get the chance for your talent and your creativity to shine.
That's really great, sir. Sir, can you throw some light on placement trends till now, and like what is the expectation in the near future?
So, I mean, obviously, the last few months have been very difficult for placements. That's, I think, fairly common knowledge. I think we've done fairly well to hang on to the placements that our students had already got. We made sure, working with the employers, I think, to try and make sure that they stay committed to those offers that they've made to our students. Some of our students have picked up some emerging work during the COVID situation as well. Obviously, as I mentioned, one of the things that will come out of this COVID situation is that there's going to be a huge appetite for more content. And luckily, we are in the content creation business, or at least our students are in the content creation business. So I think there's going to be a lot of short-term opportunities, particularly that will arise in the wake of COVID. You could call them internships, or short-term contracts, or whatever it is that you'd like to call them, as people try to roll out video content, audio content, talking about safety, security, what comes next after COVID, try to attract people back to creating some kind of demand in the economy. All of those kinds of things are going to be linked to creating more good content. And so our students are, in a way, interestingly placed, that yes, there may be less large film production about for quite a few months. But your OTTs are going to need more people as they try to create more content to reach enhanced demand, and just generally the economy try and stimulate demand is going to need more content to try and attract people there. So I think a lot of short-term opportunities will come up for students, and I think students need to be ready to take those short-term opportunities, because it's those short-term opportunities that I think that in 3 months or 6 months can be converted to a more longer-term opportunities.
Yeah, rightly said, sir. So the competition being increasing day by day, there's so fierce competition. How do you guide your students in such a competitive scenario?
I think this is a very, very pertinent question at the moment, because one of the things that people always focus on when it comes to being competitive is what skills do you have, right? What skills do you have? But I truly believe that a lot of people don't focus on the mental side of this, right? How do you prepare your mind to last? Yeah, to take on the pressures of if you've got a job performing day after day, given the fact that more and more people are looking to take that spot from you, or if you're looking for a job, how you continue to persevere through difficult times while you're looking for them. So I think that it's important that we understand that competition comes not just from the external sources that we find, which are other people looking to compete with you for the opportunities that you have, but it also comes from the pressure that you put on yourself in trying to find those jobs and those opportunities for you. And I think that at Whistling Woods we try to do a very good job of balancing both of these things. Look, I think we do a fantastic job in preparing our students with the skills that they need and the craft that they need to be able to be successful. We give them all the tools that they need to be successful. But I think what what we also do is to try and make sure that they understand that this is not it's not a simple process. It's not a short-term process. Even when they find a job after they leave, they then have to perform in that job to keep the job, and then they need to find more stepping stones in their careers. So we talk to them a lot about career progression. We talk to them about how to think about not just getting your first job, but how to find those stepping stones to build your career over a period of time. And I think very importantly, we try to instill in them a mental strength, and particularly for actors, directors, people in the fashion industry, where you are going to face a lot of rejection, and it is hard to deal with that. We try to instill a certain mental confidence in them. We try to make sure that they understand the avenues that are open to them, and so that they can consider themselves being productive. They consider themselves keeping their self-esteem high. And I think that's very important for the current situation that we're going to be facing.
That's really great, sir. So, sir, as a head of academics, sir, how do you strategize regarding the programs being offered?
Well, I think we look out and look around at what opportunities there are in the industry. Obviously, we try to keep everything at the core of what we do. We are a creative arts institute. We are a media institute. And so the kinds of courses that we operate keep in mind the fact that that's our center, right? So that's what we need to keep in mind. If you look at our fashion school, it delves heavily in film. So students are not just able to make design collections; they're also able to make fashion films if they want to. And similarly with our music school, they make music videos to supplement their learning. So, we're all about trying to find these interdisciplinary access that we can find. So our current venture is the event school that we're opening. We've run modules in event management for a long time in our media school. And I think we thought that this was a perfect opportunity to launch a full-fledged program in event management and in all facets of event management, given the fact that, certainly pre-COVID, there was a huge amount of event management happening, whether that was, sort of conferences and weddings and all of those things, but also things like gigs, concerts, flea markets, all of those kinds of things, all of them requiring good event managers. And now shifting to a post-COVID world, where some of those things, frankly, are not going to be possible. We've seen the explosion in webinars, we've seen the explosion in online learning, and there is a requirement for event management there as well. So I think for us, this is a step that we're quite excited about. There are others. There are others areas that we want to look at. Full-fledged performing arts is something that we want to look at. Sports management is something that we want to look at. So I think what we do is we try to look at what we are good at, and then try to find how we use that skill set that we have to try to improve other areas of emerging courses that we think will work well.
That's really great, sir. So, sir, any suggestion or message you would like to give to the students who are aspiring to join your prestigious institute?
In terms of a message, I just like to tell them that, Whistling Woods is a place that they should come and they will enjoy themselves. They will have 3 years of really enjoying themselves. But in that enjoyment, they will learn a lot about who they are as people. They will learn a lot about what they want to do with their lives and their careers and their professions. And I think that they will walk out very different people from when they join the Institute, when they walk in. I think that obviously a lot of them will be thinking, COVID, Bombay, we're worried about it. I would like to tell them all that Whistling Woods has done everything that we possibly can, that when we are back on campus, we will ensure that those safety measures are completely taken care of. And most importantly, I would like to tell them that even though a lot of them must be feeling that, oh, why did COVID have to happen when we are going to college? We will ensure that they will not lose a single experience on our campus, despite the fact that COVID is around.
That's really great, sir. Sir, the discussion was really insightful. I hope the viewers will learn a lot from this video. Thank you, sir. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.